sponsors of tonight's majlis and those on the Nabiya's Memorial. Surah Al-Fatiha.
Thank you. Do a Fatiha.
So thank you, Janu and Nathik, for the salam and the Quran recitation. We are looking for volunteers as we continue the programs for the rest of the nights for volunteers to recite Noha, Salam, Marcia. So please do come forward and let us know if you're interested in reciting any of those. Tonight's program, after the speech is done, we will conclude with a short Noha. If we don't have any volunteers, we'll play a short Noha at least on the speaker. And then we will exit right through the doors, and there will be a couple of short speeches given by some of our younger volunteers as we get to admire the art exhibit that's also on display. So I'll remind you guys about that right after we are done with Masari. And we also have kids activities for kids in the 3 to 10 years of age group in the hall right next to the main ladies hall. So if you'd like to drop off the kids there, you're most welcome to do that. We continue to look for donations. These programs are not possible without the support of the community. So please come forward with your generosity. Anything you give us goes a long way. In fact, if you do go online and donate via Zelle or credit card payments to Zanabia, it would be very much appreciated if you can indicate that the donation is for English programs, and that will make it very clear to the community members, to management, that there is interest in continuing English programs in Zanabia. So, please do take a note of that. And one more reminder for folks going in and out of the hall during the program: please try to limit the entry and exit through the doorways. Please assess if it's an emergency that you really need to go outside. It can be disturbing, as the doors close, as people are walking around. And also, I will request everyone who's actually sitting in this area, if we can fill this area first. So you guys, if you could just move over here, that will leave space for new people who are coming in to just fill that area. Our concern here is we'd like to leave the entry from that door through the hallway clear, so people who are coming from that door, they have a clear pathway. So we should not block that path if possible. Thank you very much. We appreciate this. And now, with your lights on, I would request Maulana Sayyid Abbas Razavain to please come to the member and address the issues.
Sorry, you need to rest some quick.
صلوات على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. When we read the Holy Quran and we think about some of the verses, we see that repetitively in the Holy Quran it talks about prophets not wanting any recompensation, any wage, any money for their divine mission. And it wouldn't make sense for a prophet to come, to charge the people, to take advantage of them, to have material benefit, and to give, for example, religion. But we have one prophet in the Holy Quran that's commanded to take a wage, to get a recompense from the people. Do you know which prophet this is? Very good. Prophet Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, ala Muhammad. For another salawat, do you know which verse of Quran it is that he is commanded to ask for a wage?
Say, Muhammad, I do not ask for anything except for the love of my family.
Very good. Let's recite another salawat for him. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. You didn't read my notes, did you, from there? Okay. So, one prophet. Throughout the Quran, prophets come and say, we do not want wait from you. We are sincere. We are coming to give you a message that will give you life. But one prophet, our prophet, Rasulullah, the best of messengers, was commanded to get something in return. It says very clearly, قُلْ لَا أَسْأَلُكُمْ عَلَيْهِ أَجْرًا. I don't ask for any wage, any reward, إِلَّا, but I want one thing. الْمَوَدَّةِ فِي الْغُرْبَةِ. I want love of my relatives, love of my family. This is one of the strong proofs, Quranic proofs, as why we are here tonight. Because we are acting upon this verse. And we have to show Rasulullah, we have to show God that we have connection, we have attachment and love to his family, the family of Rasulullah. So therefore, many times throughout history, when you look at it, not only Shia would do Azadari of Imam Hussain alayhi salam, even the Sunnis would do it in India. And their dalil and proof was this verse, 42:23, that the Quran says, we want to give a reward to Rasulullah. He is the only prophet that asks for reward, and his reward is attachment. We're coming here to cry for Imam Hussain alayhi salam so that we can give the reward of Rasulullah. We know though that this reward is really for us. Because if Rasulullah teaches for 23 years and everyone forgets about everything, his entire life would have been spent in vain. But if you have attachment to the family, and the family has the message of Rasulullah, then the message will be preserved. So therefore, this attachment is for ourselves. So let's recite another salawat ala Muhammad wa ala. The Quran teaches us many concepts through different ways. One of the ways that the Holy Quran teaches us terminologies and teaches us different vocabulary that we need to know is by teaching us opposites. To give us a concept and then to give the opposite of that. And that is one of the best ways our scholars say to know things is by knowing the opposite. For example, in the Quran you hear the word dalala or zalala. What is the opposite of misguidance? Guidance, right? Hidayah. So Quran puts these together, hidayah and dalala, so you can understand what these concepts mean in opposition. Quran introduces iman, faith. And what's the opposite of faith? In the Quran, iman, kufr, disbelief. Or third, we have, for example, islah and fasad. Islah means reformation. Fasad means corruption. Very beautifully in Surah Baqarah, that you look at, one of the very first verses, talks about those, إِذَا قِيلَ لَهُمْ لَا تُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, when we tell them, don't corrupt, don't cause corruption in the land, قَالُوا إِنَّمَا نَحْنُ مُصْلِحُونَ. Actually, we are those that are rectifying, we are the reformers. And then Quran says, أَلَا إِنَّهُمْ هُمُ الْمُفْسِدُونَ. Actually, they are not the muslih, they are not the ones that are reforming, they are the corruptors. But they tell everybody, this verse is for the munafiqeen. But you see today in this time period how this applies. Quran is universal. How today when you see the destruction of Gaza, you see destruction of the Palestinian homes, and you ask them, for example, you are committing treason, you're committing genocide. They say, no, we're here, we're committing, for example, righteousness, we're doing Islam, we're reforming. The Quran says, no, truly you are the ones that are causing corruption on the earth. So we know these terminologies from the opposites, and I want you to understand when you read the Quran next time, to look at these opposites throughout the Quran and you'll get much about it. Imam Hussain alayhi salam's mission was to change, to do Islam. And this was the mission of all the prophets. The prophets have come to reform. Reformation is such a deep topic that it incorporates all realms of life. Sometimes prophets came like Prophet Shu'aib. He was a prophet that was sent to Midian. Midian is in northwest Saudi Arabia today, and it is by Tabuk area. He was sent to them, and the Quran very clearly says he came to rectify two things, at least two things. One was Islah in i'tiqadat, to change the belief of the people. People were polytheists, and Prophet Shu'aib came to tell them that you should worship one Allah, one God. So therefore, you see, sometimes there's Islah in beliefs. Sometimes we need Islah and reformation in behavior. Our behavior is wrong. We have the right beliefs. We believe in Allah, we believe in the prophets, we believe in Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but we don't act like him. And therefore there needs to be Islah in our action. Sometimes there needs to be Islah in our akhlaq, in our behavior. So Prophet Shu'aib, then the second thing, and some say he was the first prophet to teach this, he taught the people how to weigh and scale. And so when you want to sell something, I don't know, some of you do the shopping, or maybe some of you saw the older in the Middle East or in Asia, when they weigh something, they put a weight, for example, 1 kilogram, half kilogram, and they weigh it, and if it gets balanced, then you know that vegetables you buy, or those potatoes or whatever you buy, is, for example, equal to 1 kilogram. He taught them this. But what would they do? They would cheat the people. Instead of, for example, putting 1 kilogram of weight, maybe they would use something else that weighed less, and they would charge them 1 kilogram. So there are two sins and two needs, and Quran very clearly says about Prophet Shu'aib that he came to change them. They came and said, قالوا يا شعيب أصلاتك تأمرك أن نترك ما يعبد آباؤنا. Does your salat teach you, command you, so that we can change our worship of what our fathers used to worship, our grandfathers used to worship? Then Prophet Shu'aib mentions very beautifully, Ma yuridu. Here, in uridu illa al-islah. I only want Islah. I've come here to reform you. I've come here to change you. Mastata'at, whatever I am capable of. Because people cannot change unless they want to. You cannot force them to change. It says, whatever I am allowed, وَمَا تَوْفِيقِي إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. And only my tawfiq, and for this to actually happen, is only from Allah. Allah has to grant me success. I cannot do it by myself. If Allah wants to change you, He will change you. The people were not changed, actually. The people of Shu'aib, we have in the books that Bala came to them. In the series, 2 cities that he lived in, some say 2 cities, and Bala happened in them, and they were wiped out. So, if Prophet Shu'aib was sent to rectify the people, do we have evidence that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, his mission, and it was a divine mission, that he also came to do Islah, to reform the people, to change what was going on? We see in one of the letters, very famous letters, he writes to Muhammad Hanafiya, Anni lam akhruj asharan wala batiran. I did not come here for tyranny or corruption. Wala mufsadan. I've come here, innama kharajtu. I have rebelled for this reason. Why did Imam Hussein rebel? لِطَلَبِ الْإِصْلَاحِ فِي أُمَّةِ جَدِّي. To reform and change the society of my grandfather, the ummah of my grandfather, Rasulullah. Somebody asks you, why did Imam Hussein alayhi salam go to Karbala? Why did Ashra take place? One of the reasonings is in this letter to Muhammad Hanafiya, that I've come for Islam. Just how Prophet Shu'aib came, all the other prophets came to change, to rectify. أريد أن آمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر وأسير بسيرة جدي. I came to command the good, to enjoin the good, to forbid the evil. I've come to rebel so that I can follow the path of my grandfather to follow the path of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Brothers and sisters, one of the problems that we have is that many times we want to change religion and do Islah of religion. We don't want religion to change us, religion to change community, religion to change the country. We want to water things down. And we want to take that point of reference that we have, is very clear in the book, in Kitab, and Sunnah, and we love to try to make things halal. Sometimes, for example, one person will go to Najaf or Qom and find a ruling, and it'll be an easy ruling, and it'll spread throughout the community. Did you know this is halal? Did you know you could do this? And everyone loves it, mashallah. I love that jurist. He's the best jurist ever. He made it halal, for example. So therefore, we love to do Islah of religion. But what happens when we have a religion that, for example, in 20 years changes, and then another 20 years changes, and then another 20 years changes? What will be left? Can you not see what happened with the religions before Islam? Or the message before Islam? Can you not see what happened to Christianity? That usury, for example, is now allowed. Marriage between the same gender is now allowed or blessed by the church. So, or prohibitions that were not, things that were haram start becoming halal. Now you see, for example, from the message of Isa alayhi salam, pork is halal, alcohol is halal. You ask, well, what is left? What else is left in this religion? We are blessed, and one of the reasons why Islam is spreading so fast in this country is that people that want to do good, people that have good standards, are looking for a way of life, looking for a moral code that has not been changed. Because they do not like the change that has occurred in modern life. So therefore we have to be careful that we want to change ourselves in this Muharram. We want Imam Hussein alayhi salam to change us. Anyone here think that they're completely perfect? If you want to change, and tonight's topic is about change and reformation, this is one of the best time periods to come to Imam Hussein alayhi salam and come to his tent, and this is the majlis of Imam Hussein, this is for him, and to come to him with your heart, an open heart, with love and nur and light, and ask Allah to change. If my beliefs is not right, change my beliefs. If my aqa'id is not right, change my aqa'id. If my ahkam and my practice of halal and haram is not right, change it during these 10 nights. And if my behavior is not right, if my akhlaq is not right, for me to change. Why? Because the goal is to become Husseini. The goal is to have ma'iyyat at the end of Muharram, to be with Imam Hussein. How do I be with Imam Hussein? I believe in what Imam Hussein believed in. I behave in the way that Imam Hussein believed in, and I come to that, close to that same status. Let's recite Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So how was the time period of Imam Hussein alayhi salam that he had to shed his holy blood? Let's give a salawat to come forward, please. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So the more can. May Allah bless you. How was the time period of Imam Hussein that he had to shed his blood, his holy blood, to change? What was going on? And I'm sure you've heard many of the stories of how Yazid was like. But let me give you some clear-cut examples. There's the name of Abdullah ibn Hanzala ibn Abi Amir. Hanzala ibn Abi Amir was one of the companions of Rasulullah. And he died and was shaheed in the battle of Uhud. Allah granted him one son, Abdullah, and Abdullah had 8 sons himself. 8 sons. He lived later on. He did not participate in Karbala, but he was from Medina. He was one of the important people of Medina. Father was shaheed in Uhud. And therefore, we don't want to get into it why he did not go to Karbala or whatever reason. But after the battle of Karbala, Yazid wants delegates of the important people of Medina to come and to have a dialogue with them, to see what is going on in Medina, because Medina is ready to revolt. Medina is not happy about what happened with Imam Hussein. I'm not happy with the situation. So one of the delegates was Abdullah ibn Hanzala. And this is in the books of history. Everyone has, not just Shias, everyone has books of history. He goes there and meets and sees Yazid for that time period, a month, less than a month. And he comes back. And the whole purpose of this was Yazid wanted to calm Medina down. But actually, when Abdullah ibn Hanzala comes back, they ask him, so you went to Sham, you went to Damascus. How was the Khalifa like? What was he doing? And he mentions, for example, he says every time that it was Salat time, he wouldn't pray. He was drunk many times when it was Salat time. He had haram relationships, for example. He committed dhulm and oppression. Once they received this report from Abdullah ibn Hanzala, the people of Medina revolted against Yazid. They said, how can we have a Khalifa? A Khalifa is supposed to be the successor of the Prophet. One that doesn't pray, one that drinks alcohol, one that commits sin, one that has haram relationships. So every sin in the book he is doing. So they revolt. And therefore, one of the tragedies is Waqatul Harra, that Yazid's army comes and begins to kill and slaughter and massacre the people of Medina. Why? Because of the report of someone seeing how Yazid was to the people of Medina. There, him and his 8 sons, they become shaheed, they die fighting against Yazid. So that is one example about the time period of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, that who Imam Hussein does not want to give allegiance to such a person. Or you see, for example, the Umayyads, the group of people, the dynasty that existed for 80, 90 years, were the Umayyads. And one of the last of the Umayyads, I believe in the year 132, Hijri Qamari, is when the Abbasids come, they take revenge and they kill the Umayyads because of the oppression, because of what they did to Ali Muhammad. So Marwan II is the last Khalifa. He has a son that escapes. And when this son escapes, Abdullah, actually his son escapes to Egypt and Sudan, this area called Noba. If you heard this, Noba is also where Imam Rida's mother, Najma Khatum, is from there, this area from Noba. So he escapes there and gets protection from one of the Christian kings. Who? Abdullah, the son of the last Umayyad Khalifa. He's running away because they're killing all the Umayyads. You know, the Abbasids, when they came, they took the grave of Muawiyah and Yazid, the bones and all the Umayyads, they started burning it and desecrating their graves. So they found any Umayyad alive, they hunted them down and killed them, the Abbasids. So now Abdullah is running for his life. He gets protection from the Christian king of Noba. He says, for 3 days you have been my guests, but I have a question for you. How long did your dynasty rule for? He says, about 80, 90 years. It's 80, 90 years. Does your religion make alcohol haram? He says, yes. Does your religion make pork haram, for example? Does your religion make music haram? Does your religion make fasting wajib? He says, yes, these are all wajib things in my religion. He says, you as the Umayyads, did you practice this? And he says, no, we did not practice. We told the people to practice, but we did not practice Islam at all. He says, now I see why your government failed. Get out of my country. You're here for 3 days. Get out of my country before the chastisement of God comes. So these were the Umayyads. And this was Yazid, that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was fighting against. Now imagine if they continued, because after, Yazid, after Karbala, Yazid gets doomed, and slowly there's a transformation. Imagine if the Umayyads continued to rule, what would have happened to Islam? People that truly were trying to damage it and harm it, there would be no more Islam. So Imam Hussein alayhi salam thought that the only way, and was commanded by Allah, that the only way to save Islam is to fight against this hypocrisy, to fight against the Umayyads, to fight against Yazid, even if his army is 72, 100, but he knew that eventually his message would be shared and his message would save Islam through his holy blood. Tonight we're talking about change. And one of the best places to change is Imam Hussein's majlis. Maybe you yourself, you know stories of many people that either have gone to Karbala and changed, have gone to the majlis of Imam Hussein. And I told you last night or the night before, do not judge anyone. If somebody comes here and maybe they're not that perfect Muslim that you imagine, do not judge them. They are the guests of Imam Hussein. If one person comes here and they hadn't showed up for an entire year, don't ask them, where have you been? It's none of your business. You're the guest of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. This majlis is for everyone. One of our scholars by the name of Ayatollah Sayyid Ahmad Khansari, a person comes to him, a great scholar. I don't have time to talk about him. He lived around 70, he passed away around 30, 40 years ago. He was one of those that they wanted him to be the supreme scholar after Ayatollah Burjat. They came to him and said, look, I have a brother. This brother of mine, I'm religious, is not practicing. Can you come and give him some advice so that maybe he can become a good person? So Ayatollah al-Uzma, Sayyid Ahmad Khansari, he comes and says, look, take your brother to Karbala. Take him there. Take him to the shrine of Imam Hussein. If you see him cry, if you see him change, if you see him be affected by the shrine of Imam Hussein, know there's hope in him. Then bring him to me. But if he doesn't go, or if he doesn't, for example, change at all, he's not affected by the ziyarah, then there's not hope for him. Don't bring him to me. So he tricks his brother. His brother, let's go to Karbala. He had to trick him. Maybe he said, let's go visit this other country. Let's go and buy things. And when brother accepts, they finally go to Karbala. And he does not want to go to ziyarah. He's in Karbala. He wants to go shopping and he wants to go visit other things. Finally, they go together and they come close to the shrine of Imam Hussein. I'm assuming some of you here have visited Imam Hussein's shrine. You see how much it gets you, how much it attracts you. Even those that are doing documentaries, they're non-Muslim. They begin to shed tears when they see the shrine of Imam Hussein. They feel as if a hand is taking their hand and placing it on the shrine of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You feel it's a very different place. Allah loves to be worshipped there. Allah loves to have His prayers be answered there. It's one of the holiest places in the world, is Karbala. Allah loves to answer the prayer of that person under the dome of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. So finally his brother begins to cry and he is deeply affected by the ziyarat of Imam Hussein. His brother comes to him and says, look, brother, why don't right now in front of Imam Hussein promise that I will not sin anymore? Promise that I will not turn back to that evil person that I used to be. And he promises. They come back to Iran and he says, what happened to your brother? He says, my brother, actually he does not need nasihat right now. He does not need advice. After we went to ziyarah of Imam Hussein, just one ziyarah, you said, go there and see if he's worth for me to even speak to. Just the fact he went there, he changed so much that he completely left that previous life. And this brother, when Saddam came and attacked Iran, he volunteered and became a soldier for Islam, and he was shaheed later on, the same person. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So therefore, you see that the shrine of Imam Hussein, the majlis of Imam Hussein, if brother and sister, every one of us, we want to change either our behavior, what we want to do. None of us are at that perfection that Allah has wanted for us. This is the best time. For us to change, I'll finish tonight's discussion with 5 things that I saw from one of the leading psychologists that was developed. It's called the Trans-Theoretical Model of Change. And they put 5 steps of change. And this has been published in 1983. That if you want to change, there's 5 steps. 1, the first step, remember this. Pre-contemplation. This is the first step that a person is naive to themselves. They deny They come to them and say, look, for example, you're not doing what you're supposed to do. You have this bad behavior. You have this bad habit. And you could use this for any part of your life. And they deny. They say, no, I'm not like that. I don't need to change. But actually, when you really think of it, all of us need to change. All of us need to seek kamal and perfection. If you look at Ziyarat Ashura, is actually a program of how to change. And it starts from the beginning of Ziyarat Ashura, that you talk about the gham, you talk about the sadness of Imam Hussein, taking that sadness, incorporating that sadness in your heart, and then from there, at the final stage, is having that you ask Allah to be with Imam Hussein in the dunya and akhirah. It's actually a formula for you how to change, and then to grant you maqam al-mahmud, the praiseworthy station. I gave a series of lectures about Ziyarat Ashura, how it has this transformation effect. If you look at it, the first step is to grieve for Imam Hussein, make it your own grief. Become part of Karbala, that's the first step. And then when the Imam Hussein goes in your heart, you cry, you begin to acquire the attributes of Imam Hussein, you start to become like him, and then, inshallah, you'll be with him in the dunya and akhirah. So the first part of change is pre-contemplation. That you have to come out of denial. You have to analyze yourself. The traditions say, analyze yourself before they analyze you and review you in the day of judgment. Analyze yourself. Look at myself. What faults do I have? I have the most here. What do I need to work on? What are they? Examine yourself. Do muhasabah of yourself. Just like, for example, a person that has a business. I don't know if there's any business owners here. Can you run a business without looking at profit and loss, for example? I look at my days and I say, do I have profit and loss? I analyze myself. And if I have loss, especially if it comes to beliefs, if it comes to wajibat, muharramat, I need to change. That's the first. The second is contemplation. That you are deciding about, now I have these issues. A lot of issues, when a person becomes older, they investigate about themselves. For example, in marriage. One of the issues about marriage is that a person discovers themselves in marriage. Sometimes you are the most patient person. You're the most selfless person with your friends. But then when you get married, you notice that actually, I am impatient. I'm actually angry. Actually, I'm selfish. Actually, there's all these issues that because you weren't tested. And marriage is like, for example, a stick that if you look at a pool of water, a pond of water, it's clear. But if you get a stick and you move it all around and shake it, you see it's murky. That's how marriage is. You see, I have all these faults inside me. Or for example, the business life, and when you get older, you start noticing that I am incomplete. So you have the second part is contemplation. The third part is preparation. Now prepare. Is it something that I'm doing that is haram? Is it, my eyes, my ears? Is it music? Is it, for example, words? Sometimes, unfortunately, you hear young people use vulgar language, bad language. Do I have a bad mouth, for example? And the fourth step is action. And you tell yourself from now on, from tonight, I'm going to promise one thing that I do that is wrong, that is evil. I'm going to change it. But I need to make sure that even if I promise myself and I fall off track, that I go back on track. Even if I make one mistake, two mistakes, I still come back because I promised myself change, action. And the last part, as the psychologists say, is maintenance. Now you have done away with that evil deed or bad habit. Now have maintenance. Make sure you never do it again. Watch yourself, examine yourself. These are blessings, that an opportunity that we have in this Muharram to change ourselves, to rectify. We say all the prophets came to change society. We cannot change Islam. We have to submit to Islam and see what are the rulings, what are the beliefs, and submit to exactly how it is. And therefore, the best time to do this, to submit and change, is with the nur and light and love of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Please recite Salat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. If we can dim the lights, we'll talk about some of the musibat of Abi Abdullah alayhi salam. We're very blessed to be here and invited by Imam Hussein and Ahlul Bayt, it truly makes Rasulullah happy. It makes his father Ali ibn Abi Talib happy, his mother Sayyidah Fatima happy, that you, after 1400 years in another continent, you have come to mourn for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and you know how many benefits there are. Because Imam Hussein is Safinatul Najat, he is the ship of salvation. Imam Hussein is Misbahul Huda, he is the lantern of guidance. Whatever completion we see, scholars, fighters, sulaha, great people, all of them had one thing in common. That is, they had love of Imam Hussein. That love changed them. Imam Hussein has that ability to be a muslih, to change. If a person is willing to change, Imam Hussein alayhi salam will change them. And you see this by his companions. Imam Hussein had the most loyal of companions, because he told them, he turned the light off, the campfire off, and told them that they are after me. It is dark. If you're embarrassed, go. They're not going to come for you, they're coming for me. Go, free yourselves, go wherever you want to go, for example. One of his companions, as many, Sayyid ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi, tells Imam Hussein and tells everyone that there's no way I'm going to leave you. Imagine 70 people, 100 people against an army, 10,000, 30,000. And he says that if I were, Wallahi law a'lam anni uqtal thumma uhya, if I was killed, Imam Hussein, and if I was given life again, thumma uhraq, then if I was set on fire, and this happened to me 70 times, I was killed and given life and set on fire, I would never leave you, Hussein. I will never leave you. How was Sayyid ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi? Did he live up to his promise? It is the Dhuhr of Ashura. It is time for prayer. They wouldn't even allow the son of Imam Ali and Lady Fatima to do his own salat. He had bodyguards, he had people watching, while a small group of people were praying and Imam Hussein alayhi salam was performing his salat. One of those that volunteered to be the shield of Imam Hussein was Sayyid ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi. That he wanted to make sure that Imam Hussein was not struck by an arrow while he was doing his salat. Can you imagine this? The time period that Muslims won't allow Hussein ibn Ali to do his salat. They say 13 arrows. Sayyid ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi, how hard is it to chase an arrow down? To find the arrows and jump in front of it. To find another arrow and jump in front of it. To make your body the shield of Imam Hussein. After 13 arrows, he couldn't take any more. And he fell on the ground. And he asks this question to Imam Hussein alayhi salam that shows his sincerity, that tells us how we need to do Azadari, how we need to be Husseini. He asks this question to Imam Hussein. He doesn't say, look what I did, Imam Hussein, I took 13 arrows for you. You owe me something for this. No, he says, أَوَفَيْتُ يَبْنَ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ, have I been loyal to you, Rasulullah? It's a question. Am I loyal? Have I done enough? I have taken every arrow that I could to my body. Is this enough, Imam Hussein? This was the mentality of the companions of Imam Hussein, the Shuhada of Karbala. There Imam Hussein alayhi salam answers, Na'am, Anta amami fil Jannah. Yes, he smiles. Yes, you are with me. You're in front of me. You're with me in heaven. And this is the story of Sayyid ibn Abdullah al-Hanafi, and he slowly smiles, and he left this world smiling, left this world reaching salvation and reaching victory. Inna lillahi inna ilayhi raji'un. We ask Allah, because of the musibah of Imam Hussein, the holy blood of Imam Hussein, his companions, his dear family, to cure all the sick, to bless our family members that are not present right now, to give them the thawab of this majlis, to help all the youth, those that are looking for marriage, help them in marriage, those that are looking to have kids, inshallah. Those that are looking for a halal career, halal jobs, to study well in school, help them and assist them, inshallah. Separate us from sin. Allow us to find our faults and to rectify those faults, inshallah. Help all of the oppressed, especially those in Palestine, and to hasten and expedite the return of the Imam of the age with a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Dear brothers and sisters, the program will continue just through the doors as we will gather by the art exhibit. I will first request the sisters to please remain seated. I'll have the brothers walk out right through the doors and gather on the right side of the tent, and that will allow the sisters to remain